Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're looking at Boku no Hero Academia / My Hero Academia Chapter 108. A relatively simple chapter, very much focuses on the remaining minutes time limit of the first test, I guess, for the provisional license, and it covers a few different elements. I do want to say that a lot of the times when I do these 5-point reviews or these 5 talking points, these are my opinions, what I want to talk about, what I found interesting. There's very much a lot more you can cover, but I want to keep these short and sweet. Don't want to be going long-winded videos, as you can imagine. It takes ages to get through and you'll probably get bored. Hopefully not. I'm hopefully entertaining enough to make a good enough point. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this review. Point number 1. The sinister side of Shindo. So Shindo, as you know, when you first introduced to him, was very smiley kind of guy, and he had a front basically what he put up, and we get to see some of that here. So what I want to really bring back again is the one person that straight away saw this and saw through this was Bakagou. I know it looked like he was being abrasive, being his, angry, self that he is, without going into profanity. He basically saw through this very quickly, and that shows that he's potentially got a good judge of character, or you can see through people. So going back to the sinister side of Shindo, we got to see that a lot of the things that he's been doing was to really cause problems for other people, which is understandable in the test environment. But then to go and say that he sees himself beyond and he sees his crew as beyond them, and like effectively trampling on the dreams of other people who have got the same goals, and them being beneath him, shows there's more to him. And even his own colleague says, look, quit the goody two shoes act, you're a lot slyer than that. So it's interesting to bring that point there. And a lot of people have been saying he looks a lot like Izuku. He might be a relative, it might be, you never know, it might be an older brother, somebody from the future, we don't know. But it's interesting to bear in mind, that he's there and he's got that dark side to him. He's probably gone back to goody two shoes mode now. That's point number 1. So there's a difference in timeline, because when we see the Shindo stuff, it's pre-Bakagou passing. We go back to Bakagou's team passing with the people that he was with, Kanamari and Karishima, and then meet up with Izuku, and Momo's there and everything else. So that part is cool. But what was interesting to see was, from a development point of view, is how he handled seeing Izuku again. Because every time they meet up, Bakagou's always pissed off at him for one reason or another. And this time, even though it wasn't pleasant and he's typically swearing, Bakagou actually, in his own way, kind of congratulated Izuku. But he says something very important. He goes, have you made those borrowed powers your own, or did you make those borrowed powers your own? That's interesting, because he seems to now have an idea or an understanding of where Izuku got his powers from. Because one of the things that was really pissing him off was the fact that he felt like he'd been tricked, that Izuku always had powers and he just manifested them and showed them now. Well, in reality, we know he was given those powers, and now I think he has a bit more of understanding, so he's probably taking it in a different way. But really, in reality, he's still basically responding in his own unique Bakagou way. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is briefly touched on, but I really liked this point of the chapter, and it's to do with Ida's ideals. So Ida's ideals wasn't necessarily, just to pass and become get a pro license and get a provisional license. He saw his job as being the guide for members of his class, being the class president, and those are his ideals. Other than carrying on his family trade with the whole thing with Ingenium, his brother, obviously losing to Stain, and now he's taking it another way. He wants to be a hero, but he wants to lead by example. He wants his friends to pass, and that really showed through, and I like that character of him. So remember when he was first introduced, he was very stickler, he was very stern, he had to follow the rules, and that's cool. But this shows he actually genuinely cares about his classmates, his crew, his friends, and that shows in this chapter about how he was dealing with certain situations. That's point number 3. Now, point number 4. This one was based on Aoyama and Aoyama's character's development. So Aoyama, for the most part, has always been a guy for flair, and he wants to stand out, and the French, and he was always doing these things to stand out, to seem different. But I think for the most part, we saw in this chapter, through flashbacks and conversation and self-thoughts, that this was all to hide his own insecurities and the fact that he didn't feel inept enough compared to his colleagues or his classmates. Because he basically states in this chapter that he always wanted to be as good or on equal footing as his colleagues, his friends, his classmates. And there's a conversation where he's talking to his father, and he goes, "Why am I different than everybody else?" You know what? You got to understand, though, in this world, being different is a whole different kettle of fish than what we consider different. When everybody is special in their own way with powers, being special or super, it takes it to another level. So I think he felt inept or different because his power is like shooting a laser from your belly button. But using that, initially he wanted to be a sacrifice so his friends could go through. And I thought, you know what? In desperate times, he's still thinking of his friends. And that shows a lot about a person's character. When the chips are down, where you're surrounded, where you think you can't go on, for you to do something like that to help somebody else shows how good a virtue of a character you have. And I really like that about him. Now, because he went this far, even though Ida was saying, like, what are you doing? This will cause some issues. Because he set this beam, because the classmates know of his ability, the remaining classmates of UA, I think there was like 10 or 11 at that time, basically got to him and they were able to pass because of him. So that sets up point number 5, but I just like that about this chapter. So, point number 5, everyone passes. Now, granted, we had like 1,500 people and 21 of them were from UA, and those all 21s passed. It says a lot about the teachings that they've been given, says a lot about the experiences they've been given. Now, it's also important to bear in mind from a storytelling point of view, if these are going to be your main characters or side characters as well, you can't be fodder, you can't lose and be like everybody else, because ultimately, if you're like everybody else, you will just fade into the background. So this was important because when you're first year, you're not supposed to succeed. You're not supposed to become a pro license holder straight away. You're not supposed to get a provisional. But they have high hopes for them at UA. And for them to get this far is important because it shows, okay, they might not be elites, all of them, but they are special. So for them to pass at this stage is very good. It's very important. Now, what this next stage will show, stage 2, which they show is the rescue stage, will show if they're really out to be heroes right now. Because the idea of the kind of the internal or the first kind of amendment, the first kind of right, the first kind of act of a hero is to rescue and help others. And that's what this whole stage is about. Now, bearing in mind how much they cut down from like 1,500 or however many stupid numbers they had originally to just 100, you can only imagine the percentages that you're going to accept for this one. So in reality, there are some tough caliber teams here. Shiketsu members, the team that Shindo's from. There's a lot of people from other classes and from other schools that have got a good chance of passing. This is where it really comes down to the nitty gritty and who really cuts it and who doesn't. In my opinion, there's going to be people that are going to surprisingly go through, but you're not going to be. It's going to be a very slim chance if, for me, the top 5 don't. Top 5 from UA have always been for me. Momo for the brains, Bakagou for his fighting prowess, Shuto for his talent as well of having both forms and being just generally really good, Izuku for being the next successor of One for All, and Takayomi for having that disastrous, enormously powerful quirk that he has. So they're always seen as the powerhouses of the team in one way or another. And it'd be very surprising if none of them go through the next stage, but you never know the type of direction the author wants to go in. He pretty much is brilliant at telling a story. There's no denying that after 108 chapters, you can only but admire the storytelling of this author. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. I hope you watch my reviews, you follow me on this ride to get there. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you thought of this chapter in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it or enjoyed any points I made. If any of the points I'm making sets up something else speculation wise, theory wise, suggestion wise, let me know in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed what I'm doing or you follow this series, feel free to subscribe and follow my thoughts on this series. I greatly appreciate that. Thanks you for watching. If this you find will help others, please share it with them as well. I greatly appreciate that, and I'll see you next time. Peace.